Very good, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the June meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28th, 2025, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
John Johnson.
Present.
Sadie Stone.
Here.
Very good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vincent Vignali.
Here.
Terry Underwood.
Here.
Super. Some ground rules. For presenters and/or applicants listed on the agenda, I will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by a roll call vote. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, I will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. I will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once I have a list of all public commentators, I'll call each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing by the Northborough Remote Meetings tab on the town's website. Justin.
All right. This meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and/or the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. A request for determination of applicability. New Home Investments LLC is proposing to replace a failed septic system at 44 Sunset Drive within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. And that is all.
Very good. Thank you. So we'll do the meeting minutes. Before we start that, Dan and Justin, have you updated yourself by looking at our previous meetings so you can participate today?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did too.
Very good. Meeting minutes. However, you can't vote in the meeting minutes. So we need a motion or any questions or comments on the May 12th meeting minutes. No head shaking. And we need a motion to accept the May 12th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call vote. Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Moving along. Let's see. We've got Scott. Let's bring Scott in. Scott, we're gonna cover yours first. So why don't we bring you in as a panelist? There we are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
You may also see in the waiting room Scott Jordan from Ecotech.
Yes.
And, Megan McDevitt from Woodland Current.
Okay, both of them.
Yep, yes, please.
Okay, Scott, bringing you in, and Megan, you're also coming in. Okay, we got Scott and Megan.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
Briefly, we've received comments from DEP. The file numbers have been issued for both projects, the Church Street as well as the Howard Street culvert linings. The comments have been responded to both to the commission through your agent Vinny and to the Mass DEP. I believe the comments were addressed thoroughly. The same set of comments for both culverts, pretty much.
Right.
Same project, same mechanism of construction. So I'm not sure if Scott, if you want to expand on what was responded to, or if the commission wants to take it from here.
Maybe just a quick, short update would be good.
Sure. I am not an engineer, but essentially DEP was looking for some confirmation regarding the slip lining. And Megan ran some calcs and demonstrated that there'll be no impacts to wetland resources upstream or downstream as a result of the half-inch thick slip lining.
Okay, good. I think it was the same concern with both of the projects.
Exactly the same comments, exactly the same response, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
the-
we reduced the friction resistance on the lining of the pipe with the slip lining, which makes up for the very small reduction in flow area. So it's one for the other, basically.
Yep. Good. I know we
And we can
talked.
also note, we propose the riprap the stream bed to make sure there's no erosion or any changes as a result right on the downstream outlet side of both culverts.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Yeah, I know we talked about when you made the presentation originally, we asked a lot of questions and received comments. So I think from my perspective, once this item is covered, we're good. But does the commission have any questions or comments for these projects?
I have no questions.
Nope.
All right, then we can close the hearings. Let's do these two together. We can close the hearings on Church Street culvert notice of intent and also on the Howard Street culvert notice of intent. Need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Sadie. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, both those hearings are closed. Vinny, any special conditions we need with either of these?
No, actually, we just have the typical standard conditions that we use, and then I'll be taking off some of the ones that are specific about signage and boundaries and markings. But I will go through those. I think Scott's already seen them, so it shouldn't be anything big.
Okay, good. So then, let's go ahead and deal with both of these again. We need a motion to issue an order of conditions for the Church Street culvert east of Fay Lane and also the Howard Street culvert south of Washington Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dan Clark. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Vinny.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
We're not done yet,
Thank you,
Scott.
folks.
Oh, I got another one coming. That's right.
Right?
Well, these are the other folks that hang out. They don't have to hang out. They can go.
Yeah, you guys are done. Thanks. Bye. Bye,
Thank you,
Scott.
Megan. Thank you,
You all
Scott.
set with Culvert Street, Church Street West then?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that one's good. They did the NRAD before, so we're clear. Or ORAD.
Okay, all right, good night, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott.
So we have these other two. We have the Church Street ANRAD and the School Street or the River. Both of these somehow didn't get voted on last month. We
Oops.
talked about it. We got presentations about it. We asked questions about it. We closed the hearing too, Vinny,
Yes, we did.
and then just didn't vote on it. So it's a new approach to the orders here. So I guess we just go ahead and take a vote. Is that all we have to do?
We make a motion and then we can discuss it if anyone wants to discuss it, but we make a motion to issue the decisions on both of them, or you can do them individually.
Let's do them individually because one's an ANRAD, one's an NOI. So,
Okay.
so we need a motion to, the hearing is already closed, right? So we need a motion to issue an order of
Issue
conditions
an order of resource area delineation, yes.
for Church Street Culvert west of Fay Lane.
You'll be surprised to know this, but I'm going to make that motion.
Shocking. Is there a second?
Second.
Up, Sadie Stone, second. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Just Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Any discussions here?
For the motion for the School Street Bridge notice of intent?
Yep, that's an NOI, correct?
Yes.
So we need a motion also to move forward with that, to issue an order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sadie. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Just Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Done.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, and you as well, Vinny.
Thanks, Scott.
Welcome.
Yeah, bye.
I don't know how that slipped by, Vinny. I still don't know, but
I missed it.
well, I missed it too. And
I got docked.
Justin's fault.
yeah, we'll blame it Justin. Justin and Dan,
That's
they
right.
both were co-conspirators in that.
Makes sense.
Okay. Reservoir Street, 3711 Reservoir Street. Continuation with a stormwater management and the disturbance permit. Who do we have on the, who do we
Bob
have?
Parenti,
No,
is he not there?
no.
You see who's there.
I've got Cindy, Mike and Tracy, Oregon, Vito, and William's iPad.
Yeah, is anyone, I'm not sure who, if they want to raise their hand for
I think
discussion on
maybe
this.
Tracy probably will want to be on that.
Mike and Tracy Horgan?
Yeah.
Yes, right, the Horgans, yeah.
Okay.
If they have comments, they may not have any comments.
Yep, I'm gonna let them talk. Okay.
All right. So what I can do is I can pull up, if I can share my screen, let me close some things.
So you've met with the engineer a few times, Vinny, right?
Yes, I have.
And you've got most of your questions answered, I hope.
I do. We have the questions answered. We've got the proposals kind of settled. The where am I here? The plans are at the point where I think it's approvable, and there are just some outstanding issues that will be addressed once the contractor comes out, because every contractor has a little different way of dealing with alterations and sediment containment. And so what I'm proposing for this is that we include a condition to require the contractor before the pre-construction meeting to submit his specific construction sequence as well as a specific sediment control plan. It could be the same as what's been proposed here, but I want to make sure that they buy into what they're going to be doing. And so this is the project site. You can see, I think you can see my pointer.
Yep.
Yep.
And this is Reservoir Street along here. They're proposing a common driveway to come up here to service one lot here, another lot here, and then a third lot down along here that goes all the way down to there. So there's frontage here that goes up to this lot, and then frontage here that goes up to that last third lot. They're proposing the common driveway with a stormwater basin off to the side and an access road that comes off of the common driveway to construct as well as to do maintenance on that stormwater basin. What they have shown here is a phased approach. Right along this section here is where the phase line is. The first phase will be the entrance, this stormwater detention basin, and this stormwater treatment infiltration basin to be used as a sediment basin during construction. So they're going to do this first part, get everything stabilized, and then move on to this last. So these last two lots would then get built as the second phase. And there were a lot of details, a lot of questions and comments on it. These multiple pages with plans and depictions of what's going to happen on the property. But they appear to have adequate stormwater treatment as well as sediment containment. And this is just a land disturbance permit. There's no alteration within the buffer zones and the resource areas of the brook that's right here. It's 200 foot, and that's what this line is.
So we won't see any of these three, right?
Three houses, yes.
We don't see any of these come back with NOIs because no jurisdiction.
That's correct.
And you're comfortable with all the calculations and the plan?
Yes, we went around quite a number of times, but I think we're at a place where they now, because the difficulty is they've got a steep slope coming down here. My concerns were that there's no low point at the end to be able to drop off the water in a big storm to get it to a basin. So what they had to do was oversize their drainage system to carry the 100-year storm over to this basin here. So they've got some big pipes, double graded catch basins to bring it over and then down into this basin here. And then this basin at the front really is only just taking a little bit that goes past the last basin or the second to last basin here. There's another basin here and a trench drain so that in the freezing conditions, freeze thaw in the springtime, if there's a freeze thaw that's coming just off this little slope, it won't go down out and ice up Reservoir Street. It's going to get picked up by that trench drain and brought over to this detention basin.
Okay. Good. Any questions from the commission? We've seen this a few times already.
Did they get whatever they were supposed to get from the planning board?
They have been approved by the planning board, yes. They had got their approval last week.
And that was just a common driveway, special permit or something?
Common driveway, and I think there was something about a scenic road. They were moving a couple of rocks. The rock wall up at the front over on Reservoir Street isn't complete, but they're going through an opening now where is there, but they're committing to extending the rock wall. They're going to definitely find some rocks on the site, and they're going to extend the rock wall to just kind of make it more scenic to match the existing conditions.
Okay.
No other questions or comments? Okay. Any audience questions or comments? Got a hand up. You just unmute yourself and you can speak.
Hi, thank you. This is Michael Horgan from 17 Reservoir Street.
Mm-hmm.
I just had I guess a question for my own sort of clarification. I know that this project sort of has been going through the boards for, it seems like years now. I don't know how long, but, and it's changed quite a bit, but I think Vinny just made a reference to something called land disturbance as it related to the stormwater management. So the question I have, and I don't understand, maybe it's there, is there like limitations on how much sort of vegetation and land can be sort of disturbed, or do they just go right up to the property line? And, you know, what are the restrictions of where they can, you know, take out trees and that sort of thing? And I'm asking this in part because of what I saw this past week or two on Crawford Street. I was kind of shocked at how many trees were coming out of that lot on one of the projects on Crawford Street. So is there any limitation on where that is taking place, and specifically as it relates to, you know, how that might alter the calculations for the stormwater?
Well, that aspect was one of the things that we went back and forth a few times on, because the bylaws they don't restrict how much can be cleared or altered, but once they alter more than 1 acre, they're required to file. And then part of the filing is that they show that they've minimized the amount of alteration. And so that's what they tried to do here. We're trying to save a portion of the development, or portion of the existing trees in this area here, but they're proposing a house here with a septic system and a backyard. So this whole area here is going to be altered, which abuts you. And then up here where this house is being proposed, there's a septic system there and then a house lot, and they're going to have alteration as well as the same thing here, the house and a septic system. So it's going to be opened up, but there's going to be patches of growth with a road, a patch, development, another patch, development, and then this goes back up into the woods, and this one's off here. Again, they're saving this area here with no alteration. Initially, this was all going to be just cleared. This whole section was going to be cleared out, but they're going to try to keep their construction limited to just the areas that need to be adjusted. The grading needs to be changed. So that's pretty much the process is they have to file and then they have to show they're minimizing it, and that's what they have done.
Okay, so that the areas of the trees that would remain, that's not sort of outlined or delineated before, that's sort of up to the contractors or the
No,
developer.
that is delineated on, it's hard to see this. Let me see if I can zoom in and not lose the idea. So there's a delineated limit of alteration that runs along here and then along, this is the downhill side. So they also need to have a perimeter barrier so that any runoff does not go down into the brook. So this east side is more firm, but this line here, it's a red line, and actually I think that's what that note there says. The limit of land disturbance. So that's all going to be surveyed and located in the field. And then it continues on this side here. So they're saving some along the property line up here. And then they're saving this area down here. So it is delineated on sheet, I think that's sheet 8, if you want to look at the plans that are the same plans that are on the planning board's website.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does that help, Michael?
Yeah, it's just really hard to see some of these lines, online. Even when you zoom in, you kind of lose perspective, and it's kind of difficult to understand, what they mean. There's just a lot going on, so it's hard to see when we look on the planning board site. But that helped things.
Yes, and that's why as part of his application, he started with, I think, 6 plans, and he's now up to 9. So he's showing things on each plan a little differently, so it's a little clearer. It's still very busy, so that's why I'm an old timer. I like the ones you can roll out and kind of look at them in detail.
Okay.
Vinny, are there any hard copies floating around town hall?
If you come in, I have hard copies, so we can look through those. Yep, I know the planning staff has them as well as myself.
So there you go, Michael. There's an option to go to town hall and actually look at the hard copies.
And we're open till 7 tomorrow night.
Okay. So if there's no more questions, I don't see any more hands up. We can go ahead and vote this. So let's start by closing the hearing for 3711 Reservoir Street.
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Zadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. So the hearing is closed. So Vinny, we're going to vote to issue a permit. Any special requirement? Well, yes, there is special requirements on it. You highlighted
Yeah.
earlier about a pre-construction meeting and information prior.
Yes, and this is a land disturbance permit, so we have typical conditions, and they were also required to provide surety, so that if they go out there and they alter more than they're supposed to, they have to have a bond, a cash bond posted with the town, so that we're able to execute that bond if something goes wrong or if they try to walk away and don't stabilize the site, we can bring the site back into a vegetated cover. So that's part of this as well. And
Now, who
those are
determines the
standard
bond
conditions.
amount?
I'm sorry?
Who determines the bond amount?
I did.
Okay.
I do it based on a formula that Fred and I had worked out a couple of years ago.
And what's the number on this one?
Ooh, I was afraid you were going to ask that. I think it's $28,000.
Okay. All right.
It's based on the 4.9 acres and moving 6 inches of material to get loam out there, and then hydroseeding 4.9 acres and putting up probably about 400 feet worth of sediment control barrier. So it's an estimate, and it should be, it's probably high, but that's the way we like it.
Okay. Okay, then we're looking to vote to issue a permit, land disturbance and stormwater management permit for 3711 Reservoir Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Jess Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Done.
Good.
Buena Vista Street. Again, this is a continuation. We're going to request and amend the order of conditions and the stormwater management and permit that was already issued because of a change in plan, right? Going from septic to sewer.
Yep. We have Vito there, anxious to get on.
I'm sure he is. Okay, Vito, I'm bringing you in as a panelist. Good evening.
Good evening. All right.
Uh,
Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering. So this was for Lot 2 over at Buena Vista. This was approved as a stormwater permit or land disturbance permit and order of conditions, I think 2 years ago in 2023. I'm bringing the plan up just so you can see what it is. There were 2 lots previously. One of the lots is essentially completed. The applicant, Ron Heckman, he built his house there. It was set back pretty far. And so now he's moving on to the second lot. And this one was permitted at the time as either a single family or a duplex. It was kind of left up in the air. He's decided to go with the duplex option. So really the modifications to this plan are showing what the final building layout would be, the final driveway layout to accommodate the garages, then modifying the stormwater just to accommodate those, the little bit bigger driveway or bigger roof area. And then also the third thing is going with a sewer connection rather than a septic. So I can kind of go through each 3 of those components, just overview. The building changes, essentially we just had a kind of a more generic box previously shown. Now this one has all the jigs and jogs, 2 garages. We've shifted it back a little bit because the old septic proposed was in the rear. So we could push that back a little bit, keep all that outside the buffer zone. We modified the driveway a little bit to work with those 2 garages. We pushed that back also just to keep all the driveway modifications and all the building modifications fully outside the buffer. Inside the buffer, this driveway essentially stays the same as it was previously approved. And then we increased some of the drainage. We increased some of the roof drains because of the larger roof and just reshaped this rain garden. We kept this down gradient side the same and just kind of reshaped it up near the edge of the driveway. It actually made it a little bit bigger than it was before. And I guess one of the bigger changes was looking to get a sewer connection up here to School Street. There's an existing sewer stub that is right off the edge of pavement. right up in here. So they're looking to make that connection to have municipal sewer rather than an on-site septic system. To get that connection, they do need to work within the inner 25-foot buffer, though, right through this section, kind of right through in here. And there really isn't much other option to get to that sewer stub. The property line is running tight to it. If you look at the picture of the area, this is the work area. It's already lawn, so there isn't any clearing required to get that path through there. So this is the route essentially right through here, and then it hooks a right-hand turn and
Because
goes.
you're looking from School Street here, right?
Yeah, this is a picture standing on School Street.
Yep.
And this is the construction site behind us, kind of way out in there. So this is the sewer route right here. So it is in that 25-foot buffer, but it isn't in a natural area. It's in a pre-existing lawn. So we've asked for a waiver to allow that construction work to go forward. And I think that was basically it. I know Vinny had looked at the stormwater calculations and the plans, and he had review comments. We made revisions to those comments, and I believe we've addressed those. So I think that's all I have. I can hand it back over, take questions.
Vito, what's for that area that you're going to be working in inside the 25-foot? What's the plan to protect the wetlands from that?
So on this would just have perimeter erosion control, sediment controls. So I think on this one we had silt fence with straw wattles.
Yep.
I think it was. Whatever the typical detail we had. Let me just see what we were using. Sorry to scroll through.
It's a pretty flat area too.
Yep. Yeah, sediment. So it's a silt fence with straw wattles. Yeah, the area is pretty flat through there, right in that section. So they should be able to get in and out of there fairly quickly. Especially if they do this. The intent would be to do this during the late summer when everything's at its driest. So that way they don't encounter much for groundwater, so that we can get it in and out of there pretty quick.
Okay. Vinny, you're good?
I am, yes. He addressed the comments that I had. We were talking about potentially casting when he excavates this, casting to the uphill side so we don't have we have as little impact as possible close to that wetland area, just in case something happens, we get a thunderstorm in the summer, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Concerns? No?
No.
Let's see, any audience questions? I don't see any hands up. Okay. Then we need a motion to close I guess it's a hearing, Vinny, right?
It's a hearing for an amended order of conditions and for an amended land disturbance permit.
So we need a motion to close the hearing for both the amended order of conditions and the amended stormwater management land disturbance permit for 2 Buena Vista Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Hearing is closed. Nothing else, no special conditions, Vinny, right? Just
Our typical conditions,
Yeah.
that would be it. Nothing in addition to those. Did we have a marker for like signs on this one on the far side of that the stormwater dike, or did I forget that the berm?
I can't remember if they were included in the previous order.
Okay.
Can you
I
just
think
add that in?
they might have been, but I don't. I think we would have. I think they would go along with signs, just maybe 2 signs down there. We don't need a string of them.
You talking about the sewer connection?
Yeah, one down near the sewer connection area, and then one up in the back side of the proposed stormwater basin. So as you drive up the driveway, stormwater basin's on the right side, and this would be to the right of that to note that there's a wetland in that area.
Okay. So then we need a motion to issue to consider the request to issue an amended order of conditions and an amended stormwater management and disturbance permit for 2 Buena Vista Street.
So moved.
Second,
second,
John Johnson. Roll call, Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
yes.
Lady Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks for working with us, Vito. Appreciate it. Okay, CSX Transportation, Vinny.
Yes, they have, at the last meeting, we were trying to schedule an inspection, a site inspection, and that has not been scheduled yet, so they requested a continuance to our July meeting.
I've got a hand up here.
Oh,
Let's see. You can go ahead and speak.
oh, that's Bob.
Hey, man, I got tied up a little bit with the grandfather duty here. Did you already pass by ours or did you put me back a bit or
Yeah, we blew it out of the water.
I
Yeah.
guess, so to speak,
This is for Reservoir Street.
Reservoir Street, Romeo, the estate of Romeo.
Yeah.
I can wait till the next one if you want. That's fine.
No, we voted on it, the commission voted on it and approved it.
You're
Oh.
done.
You didn't need me?
You did a great job.
My goodness, my goodness. All right. Yeah, let me know if I need to update anything. Or you're gonna add some conditions in there that we can
Yes,
get.
I'll put the conditions on.
Okay. All right. That was quicker than I've ever seen a meeting
I
go.
bet. It's a hard one to beat.
I was 5 in, so thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bob. Okay. CSX, continuation, right?
Yes.
Are they working as a timeline? Do they have a hard stop or start for this?
They like to do the work in July or August, but it can extend all the way into September. But I think it's more their timeline that we're trying to comply with. They submitted and they need to flag the wetlands. Sometimes, or most of the times, most commissions just say, well, it's the same as the last time. But when I looked at the information, it appeared that the last time it was actually flagged was 2005. So we have beavers in Northborough, so
Yeah.
things change.
I'm sure in 20 years there's been some movement. So
Yeah.
okay. So they'll be ready to talk for July.
Yes, and once I find out, I'll send a note to invite members of the commission to join us.
On a train ride.
It's a truck with both kinds of wheels on it.
Okay. All right. Then we need a motion to continue the request for determination for CSX transportation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Roll call, Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Sure.
Oh, no, you can't. That's right.
Then no.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. We now have a new vote. You can say yes, no, or sure. All right, good. Continue to July. 44 Sunset, an RDA. Do we have anybody that we should bring in?
Yes, I think Bill, is
If
he?
it's Cindy or William's iPad. I'm guessing it's William's iPad. That's a winner.
That might be the one. Yep.
Okay. We're bringing you in as a panelist.
All right, and I'm going to ride shotgun. I'm going to pull up the plan on my screen, and either I can present or he can. Bill, I think that's the one.
I don't see him yet.
There we go.
No, we lost him.
Maybe he thought I was on a roll. It might be.
Bill, okay, Bill, I can see you're there, but you're muted and your camera's off, which is fine. But let's unmute at the very least. Bill, do you hear me? Wouldn't be a Ron, would it be, Vinny? A Cindy or a Ron?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, if they're not raising their hand, then
Yeah, William's with us, but he's muted both. He's muted and he's got his camera off. So,
he said he didn't have a lot of high-tech stuff, but I think the muting, I think he'd be able to handle.
yeah. William, can you unmute? Okay. Vinny, I guess you want to do it yourself then.
All right, I've got it. So this is on Sunset Drive.
Yes.
The alignment or Sunset Drive in the drawing is at the bottom of the picture, but that has the north arrow going down. So just for orientation, this is the big pond wetland, and then farther to the south is the wetland behind McAfee Park there.
Mhm.
And so this is Sunset Drive here. And as you drive in from South Street, it's on the right. And so I'll zoom in a little if I can get up there. Yeah. So this is a site where the house is set up close to the road. It's an existing house. It has a failing septic system in the rear, and they're proposing to install a new septic system and the wetland is in the back here. So there's the pond, edge of the pond is here. The wetlands are very close because this is a very steep slope. And so their closest point is here, and it's about 54, 52 feet away from the septic system. We have a bylaw in town that prohibits new septic systems from being within 100 feet of a wetland, but they're allowed to be within that 50 to 100 feet if it's a repair, and there's really no other feasible option. And in this case, they have some very mature trees out in front, and they would have to pump the sewage from around back because the existing sewage comes out the back. And it's proposed right here to go into a septic tank and then go into a special leaching area that allows for additional treatment. So they have a little bit smaller size because the treatment method has a higher efficiency. This hasn't been approved by the Board of Health yet, but we're waiting for that, or they wanted to come to the commission first to find out if there were any concerns. And as long as they're 50 feet away, that's the concern in the bylaw. They have a proposed sediment control barrier along here.
Mhm.
And in there, one of the concerns we had in the past, probably 2 years ago, we had the prior owner was dumping, and we had lots of things dumped down this steep slope that the prior owner actually did clean up and pulled it all out. But to prevent that, the designer and the owner have agreed to installing a fence to reduce the potential for stuff to go over. I mean, if they really work at it, they could dump a lot of junk over, but it's a new body. They've got requirements. They know that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be doing some inspections. So I think that this design is probably the best option that we can get. It's going to improve failing septic systems. So it's going to be cleaner water going out into the pond, and it meets the requirements. The only outstanding question that I have is that they've proposed it as an existing 3-bedroom, and they're designing it as an existing 3-bedroom. If they find it, well, let me start again. The assessors have this listed as a 2-bedroom house. They are allowed this reduction to a 50-foot setback as long as they're not increasing the flow. If they really have a 2-bedroom house and they're making it a 3-bedroom system, that's an increase in flow. They would have to relocate this and put it into the front yard no matter what, because they wouldn't get any allowances for a repair. But there's evidence that it has been a 3-bedroom. It's been a 3-bedroom for 25 years. So I would like to add a condition that based on a decision by the Board of Health on the number of existing bedrooms in the house, if it's 2 bedrooms, then they're going to need to refile. and amend their order of conditions. But if it is a 3-bedroom, then they would be allowed to continue and go on as proposed.
Sure, that sounds reasonable to me.
So it is an improvement. They're doing a lot of work on the house. It's an old time. There was an old timer that was there, and he hoarded things. So they spent, I think, a week with dumpsters just hauling stuff out. So
Okay.
I guess I'm open to questions.
Any question from the commission? I've got a hand up, by the way, here too, from iPhone number 2. Let's find out what that's all about. Okay, iPhone 2, I'm bringing you in as a panelist. In process. Anybody there? Nobody's there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm sorry. This is Bill Gottwald. I'm the engineer.
Okay.
I just got a new iPad earlier today, and I was trying to set it up, and that's why I couldn't get through.
I get it. Not a problem.
Vinny told everything. The only thing I add is that right, like he said, right now it's a cesspool. It's not even a septic system. It's just a cesspool now. I checked the building records. The building permit was issued in 1957, occupancy 1958, and they have no record of anything ever being done to as far as bedrooms. So I've seen many times that you probably all have too. The assessors is not always correct. So I've been in that house, and it's it's a small house, but there's definitely 3 bedrooms. But that's a call for the Board of Health, I suppose. But there's been no addition. In fact, I don't even think they ever put a deck on that property in the 60-something years since it was built. So the leaching field that's put in there, those are the infiltrated chambers, which gets a 40% reduction in size from Title V. So that's pretty much the smallest system I can fit in there. So, but other than that, I have not, whatever else. Any question?
Good, thank you. Any questions from the commission? No?
Nope.
Everybody's comfortable. So Vinny, you're looking to have the special condition which you mentioned earlier about if for some reason it becomes if for some reason it's considered a 2-bedroom house now and it goes to a 3, this deal is off and they're going to have to refile.
Yes, or request an amendment. Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another hand up here. Hold on, Cindy. Cindy, we'll let you speak. You can talk. You should be unmuted. Yep, good. Go right ahead. Hello? Nope. Nope. Nothing, Cindy, huh? Can you hear? Well, if I can ask you can hear me, that's probably not going to help. Okay, well, hopefully you're unmuted and okay. So, Vinny, where were we? I'm sorry.
Unless there were other questions, I think we're ready to vote to close the hearing.
Okay. Last chance, Cindy. Okay. We need a motion then to close the hearing. Well, actually, this
So
is an
moved.
RDA. No, it's an RDA. Yeah, it's an RDA. We still close the hearing on 44 Sunset Drive.
Jump the gun. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Todd. No, can't Todd. Dan. Roll
I
call.
think-
Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Lady Stone.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, now we're looking to issue a negative determination with any conditions, any conditions, Vinny, around erosion control devices or
Yeah, we just have our standard conditions and they're proposing a fence and I don't know that they had the sign, so we'll probably put one sign on the fence that says wetland, do not disturb, so we can mount it right onto one of the posts.
Okay. All right. And of course, what you mentioned earlier about the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom discussion.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we need a motion to issue a negative determination for 44 Sunset Drive with conditions as outlined.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sadie. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Bud Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. All set. Okay. Continued notice to amend the Northborough hunting policy on conservation land. We talked about this a couple of months ago. To allow deer hunting and all conservation land, subject to some requirements. Vinny, do you want to kind of encapsulate that for us?
Yes, what has been advertised would allow the commission to rescind all the policy requirements on hunting that are listed on the town's hunting policy that was enacted in 2001. We talked at the last meeting about limiting hunting to just deer only and to comply with all other state and federal requirements. So that's kind of the summary of it because there currently is a high deer population and it would be helpful for the vegetation and the flora to have some kind of control on the deer that are overgrazing and have impacted local vegetation as well as in the roadways. There've been deer strikes, and so the DPW director submitted a letter supporting the idea of allowing hunting, and I contacted the police chief, who his statement was that hunters are very good. They're good rule followers, and whatever gets put in place, he's sure that they would comply, and he has no regrets or no hesitation to change the policies, however the commission sees fit.
Okay. So the proposal then talks about getting rid of all the existing policy bullets as noted here on the note you sent out.
Yes.
So no, the whole permit application goes away. Do you still have to provide, well, no proof of firearm safety courses, permits issued Monday for Friday only? We are talking bow and shotgun only, right?
Yes.
And deer only. But
Yes.
all the 500-foot restrictions are gone or less than that.
There are no restrictions for setback from trails.
Trails.
Okay. Questions or comments by the commission?
I've talked about it before. I strong support for this. I think it's also important to keep in mind that, the hunters would be following the statewide regulations for hunting. So there's not like there are no restrictions in place. There are from a statewide level. So, but I think it's really, particularly the Conservation Commission, we should be making it easier to manage deer populations, not harder. And I think our restrictions made it more challenging to hunt and harvest deer on town-owned property. So I think that, to me, that's the big advantage of rescinding all those restrictions.
Yeah, do you know what the current state ones are?
Well, you can't discharge a firearm within 150 feet of a road, public road, and within 500 feet of an occupied dwelling without the permission of the occupant. So that's just charging a firearm. Of course, archery.
I checked on the archery. What they have in a definition was it's still the same discharge. Archery has the same limitations, setbacks as firearm.
Okay. Kelly, welcome. You're muted.
Hello, I'm sorry. I thought this was 7 tonight. I'm sorry. I was
Oh, the
proud of
old,
myself for being early.
the old, I thought I was 7 o'clock story. Yeah, okay, not a problem. That's fine. So Dan, there are still some protections, like the statewide protection will still be in effect.
Yeah, I mean, some people that dress the safety concerns is I hear that a lot from non-hunters about concerns about being in those same woods with hunters and safety and stuff. So I think certainly those regulations address some of that, but I think probably more importantly, the facts as presented, that there's almost really no instances of non-hunters getting injured by hunters. Typically, it's the hunters that injure each other accidentally. That tends to happen more than anything else. And there's plenty of perfectly good examples around here within Central Mass where hunting and other recreational activities take place simultaneously. And a lot of people know that, and they start wearing hunter orange around that time of the year and sort of go about their business.
And while Dan was talking, I just brought up the image of the Sudbury Valley Trustees map. This is the town line between Northborough on the south and Berlin on to the north, and Northborough here and Boylston to the west. These areas with a hatch and the tan color are allowed hunting. This is the green area in Northborough owned by the Conservation Commission where hunting is limited. And then this area just directly south. So even if you're going down, I forget what's that trail, you go in Northborough, you're in the huntable area within the Fish and Wildlife land. The Division of Fish and Wildlife allows hunting in there. So that this is what we discussed at the last meeting. There's trails that once you get in here, just because you're on a trail, don't think that hunting is prohibited. It's allowed to the north and to the south.
Okay. All right. All right. Any more thoughts from the commission on this? Any concerns? Okay. Then let's take a vote on amending the Northborough hunting policy on conservation land, which was last updated 11/13/2000, to consider allowing deer hunting on all conservation lands subject to other state and federal regulatory requirements.
So we're voting to remove or eliminate the prior policy and implement the new one, correct?
Correct.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Vinny, effective date for this?
Now, I think. I'm pretty sure there's no appeal period for the decision. It's a policy.
Yep.
So I think once you note it is the policy. But it's gonna take me a little bit. I've got a couple other things here to work on, but I think in the next week I will have it drafted and put on the town's website.
You also may want to talk to the Trails Committee, have them increase any sort of collateral they pass out around wearing
Yes.
protective gear during the hunting season.
Yep, that's great. Yes, on the town's website and the Trails Committee sites. Okay.
Reflective vests or whatever. So
Yes. Is anyone in attendance? Because I thought Brian might be.
there's one person without their hand up.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's good.
all right. Moving right along. 432 Whitney Street Trail, review and approve.
Right. This was a situation where the Trails Committee has a proposed trail alignment, and I can bring up a sketch, I think. You've seen this one before. This is 432 Whitney Street in the black outline. Whitney Street is off here. I think north is to the left. Yes, the north arrow's here. North is to the left. Whitney Street, and this is the railroad track coming down here. On the opposite side of the railroad track is the aqueduct trail, the MWRA aqueduct or DCR aqueduct that comes down Wachusett. The area in green and all this area here is wetland. The blue line is the 100-foot buffer, so this is pretty small scale. But what we're proposing is an exclusion for potential housing in this area in the corner, but with access to go into a trailhead. And from that trailhead, a trail going down kind of parallel to the railroad, and then cutting around and making a loop. In this area here, it kind of loops a little farther down and then comes around and back up and then crosses the old access road that was in here that goes along here and up the hill. There, it's not shown here, but there was a little stub shown to go up and into the cleared area. So if your hike wants to go into a cleared area with a bunch of rocks and things, then you can go up to this area here. And there's also another little stub that will go down to a really nice pond area with a beaver lodge out here and a heron's nest up in a tree over this area here. What the questions were at the last or a few meetings ago were whether they needed to do this trail coming across here. Since that meeting, they've proposed a trail that comes along here, crosses, has a little bit of a loop, and then another trail that comes across here and then goes into the DCR property. Both crossings are very minimal, and there'll be raised bridges are being proposed. So that's what they're asking the commission to consider. And I'm open to any other questions.
Okay, good, good.
Hey, Vinny, I got one. When you just mentioned about dwelling on that far north side entrance, not on Whitney, but on the far north side. You mentioned that they're gonna make some type of move to not allow any type of dwelling in that area. Is that a separate ask?
Okay, I may not have been clear. What they're asking for is to have housing, affordable housing. When the town acquired this property, a portion, about 2 acres, was discussed to be for affordable housing, and that's in this corner here. So that would be a housing project done by I think it's the Northborough Housing Authority or Housing Trust. And that is not in the near future. That would be something 5 to 10 years down the road, if it's even considered. But when the town voted at town meeting to acquire this, it was a combination of housing and open space. So we're getting a conservation restriction. Actually, the DCR will be paying the town $200,000 for a conservation restriction to keep everything on this property, the 21 acres or 22 acres that's left, excluding that 2 acres,
Okay.
in undeveloped state. And then it also connects to the DCR property here. So it would be a really nice trail system. And I don't know if any of you have gotten out there. It's flagged. I've walked it a couple of times now, and it's a nice little walk. It's 1.5 miles.
Vinny, the spur that goes to DCR property, what happens once you get on DCR property?
On DCR property, this property line is a stone wall, and this is the spot where there was an old road access. This path here kind of follows the old road access, which is what they're going to use for the crossings, that same access. So it's the minimum width of the wetlands because it was a crossing. And so there's a break in the stone wall, and it would go out into a red pine forest. No formal trails there, but will be a request to the DCR to develop trails.
Even though the development, sorry to regress, Justin, were you done? Sorry,
I'm done. Yeah, thanks.
Dan. If the housing development does go in an upper left-hand corner, does that alter the entranceway or the trailhead coming into this property?
It will not. We're in the short term, it's been requested by the DPW to have some parking right in this area here where the housing would go.
Yeah.
Once that housing goes in, we would relocate that parking down to this area here, so there's not a conflict between the uses. And the reason the DPW wants it here is because this is a steep drop off. This is a bridge over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So you really can't see down here. So if we had the trailhead down here without any eyes on it, it could collect, and it has already collected some dumping problems or created some dumping problems. And so that's what the Trails Committee is going to deal with in this area down here. So we want to try to only allow the parking and access, the easy access up in this corner until the housing goes in.
Okay. Somehow, do we have to make note of that? Because I don't know if we're going to remember that 10 years out.
It's in the deed work. When the deed for the conservation restriction was created, it has an exclusion for housing, and that lot is now there's a plan was just recorded a couple of weeks ago showing that lot as exempted from the CR.
Thank you.
Good questions, though. That's great.
Vinny, you know, Mike, I had two comments here in this one. One is that I was concerned about the trail being close to the top of that steep drop down the slope, but apparently as we walked it, they're back from that, right in that area there, right? So,
Yes. Yeah, these are the contours. It's tough at this scale to see, but there are some steeper slopes that you
yes,
walk along, but it's not a long, steep slope that you can see. There are a lot of rocks. So I think you can see a lot of lines in here because it is a big, I think
Yeah.
it's 40 or 50-foot drop, but there are pathways, and that's the way they align the trail when they walked it. And they want to minimize their work as well as have a good trail. So they found the cracks where they could pass feasibly.
yeah, as long as we're back away from that edge. The second one I have is I'm not a big fan of the stub at the end. You know, there's no plan to have DCR trails imminently, so it's a trail to nowhere right now, Red Pine Forest, not just nowhere, but it's a trail into DCR land. I just prefer not to even touch the wetland crossings at this point in time. Maybe that's down the road a couple of years, but not until we have more concrete where you're going. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's sort of why I asked. I mean, if you're laying out and creating a trail, presumably it goes somewhere, and it doesn't seem like it. I mean, not that you can't walk on DCR property and it's not off limits, but I think most people probably would expect that to continue onto a trail on DCR property, not just end in the woods.
Yep. So I mean, but if DCR decides to develop a trail at some point in time, then you know maybe it can be readdressed at that point. Now you got a place to go.
Okay. Well, the response that I got when I asked that question to the Trails Committee was that the way the trails are different than building a road. I agree with the way your thought process is working because that's the way my brain was working, is that you don't build a road to nowhere. But what I was told when it comes to developing trails on state land, a lot of people ask the state for trails without having the access already there. And then the DCR or the state has come back and said, well, once you're there, then we'll work to extend the trail. So they're of the opinion that they want to have this trail in place. It may not get very much traffic until something bigger gets opened up. But they believe that by having the trail in place at the property line, it's a stronger incentive for the DCR to develop the trail on their property.
I can't see a scale. How long is that length right there that Greg was talking about?
The stub?
Yeah, the stub.
Oh,
I don't know, but maybe. Oh boy.
it could be 1,500 feet.
Yeah.
1,000 feet, 1,500.
Okay.
I don't have a scale on this one
Okay.
either.
Sorry. Just
Yeah.
ask. They're not gonna know.
Who prepared that plan?
So Vinny, you mentioned another spur road that would go down to the pond. Is that
It-
flagged? Was that flagged too?
No, that would just be, it's not even a spur road. It was, this loop here goes to a big rock kind of lookout. And there's a pathway, it looks like a deer path that already exists that just leads down to, because this is also a stone wall along this edge.
Uh-huh.
It leads right down to the stone wall and you can see the water and the wetland on the other side. So it's an enticing just walk down. It's not a trail that would be official. It would just be a walk down.
Okay.
You should get out there. It's actually a pretty trail.
Yeah, I definitely have to get out and take a look around.
We get some sunshine.
Any more questions, comments, Commission? Todd, you're a trail person. What do you think?
Do the spur.
Do the spur?
I don't have any good, not really strong feelings about it, but if it gets used, it gets used. If it convinces somebody to do something, otherwise nothing's going to happen to it. It'll just disappear.
Right. Just in the to follow on Todd's idea, this spur is going to be a lot of work. They're going to have to put in 3 crossings, which means they're going to be putting in 3 bridge systems. So if they're willing to really put all that effort in, I think it means something. And that's kind of the only basis that I would go with. I'm not so sure about getting stuff from DCR, but it's going to be a nice trail, and I think they do a good job. So they're the trails folks, as long as we're okay with having a trail. And it could be
I
used.
mean, even if it was just access to the DCR property, I mean, it serves that purpose, if nothing else.
And it keeps people from traipsing through the wetlands. They have a path, because if right now, if someone's out there walking on this loop and they say, well, there's still property over here, let's wander down through here. I don't know that they're really going to do damage if it's a couple of people, but if there's a trail, it gives them a guide and they stay on an aligned trail, so there's less damage to the vegetation. But I'm also the advisor to the Trails Committee, so that's the hat I'm wearing now.
And they'll yell at you if you don't get it done.
Well, at least if I don't represent them, I need to give some representation.
It's about 1,300 feet.
Excellent.
Well, okay. Anything else? Any more questions?
Oh, just to follow up on that, if the commission, well, the commission is going to vote tonight, or they've been requested to vote to support a trail on the property. The detail of that trail, they have to file a request for determination and plan to file a request for determination for that trail work. So this isn't your last bite at the apple. This is just saying, yep, we're okay with it. And the idea, you can tell them we're not real excited about it. So when you do your RDA, we want to have solid documentation, or we want to make sure that it's safe and the least impact and all the other things that you might be concerned with.
In time, how far away is that?
2 months. It's way ahead of the housing.
Oh, that's good. That's, yes, way ahead. Well, that's not a bad approach. Maybe we should just get a sampling here. I mean, if there's only one, or if I'm the only person that does think we should have a stub, and everybody else thinks it's great, that's one thing. But if there's a feeling the other way, another story. Does anybody have a concern that I have about the stub? Would anybody vote against the stub? Besides me?
I'm 50-50.
Okay.
Of course, right? I completely agree with you, Greg. I feel like it is going to nowhere. And we're doing work in a wetland. It's like everything that we ask people not to do, we're doing it. And if there was something to connect to, I could see justifying it, but there's not. But I also understand the whole application part of it being enticing. I don't know why we can't, why the stub has to go right up to the property boundary for DCR to want to continue it. Why we can't say, well, there is a trail 1,300 feet that way that we would be willing to work to get to if there was something here. But then the mom side of me is like, free bridges, I will definitely get my kids out there because they love bridges. So I don't know, 50-50.
Okay, all right.
When we
Yeah.
vote on the trail, Vinny, is there a possibility of us getting a topo map of that DCR area just to see what that terrain looks like as we venture into that territory? Because since we're not voting on the trail tonight, and we're just going to vote on the approval for the trails, we're not voting on the stub, right? So when we do vote on the stub, maybe the committee would like to see where we could lead into and how that would deviate.
Yes, I think that when the Trails Committee comes in with their request for determination, they will have a little more information. On the town's website, the topography does go into that area a little bit, and it's not pretty. It's also very steep, but it does wrap around the wetland. There's a crossing under 290, I think, because 290 is down here as well on the south. And so there is a flow coming from 290 that would have to be crossed with a trail on DCR property. But that is part of the proposal that I think they're going to come in with DCR, because this trail, when we voted or went to the town meeting to acquire this property, the potential was that this trail could lead all the way down to what's the dam that's over there? Barefoot Brook Dam that's down in Berlin. And then possibly the trails in Berlin could lead to Hudson. So it makes a nice connection. The hard part is right in here, like you said, that it's steep slope and it's right up against the highway.
Right. Especially if we're going to go into wetland to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. My thought was kind of going something very similar to John and just thinking like tonight we could obviously just vote to approve the trails, right? I think that's pretty benign vote. And then when the RDA comes in, I think just to vote that, certainly would just like to see what the future would look like, to make sure we're not just approving something that's just going to dump somebody into a whole bunch of wetlands that you have nowhere to go once you cross those three. So I think that would just be an important part of the Trails Committee presentation when they show, what they're doing down there is what would be the future of that trail, if they are going to cross those three fingers of that wetland.
So Vinny, if we could approve the existence of a trail or this trail with or without stub, I mean, some options here.
Yes, we can approve the general layout of the trail that was flagged in the field with the trails, or the understanding that the Trails Committee will come before the commission with a request for determination for the stub.
The RD will just be for the stub.
Yes. Because most of the rest of the trail is over 100 feet away from the wetland.
Okay. I can live with that. Does that seem like a reasonable approach for the commission?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Dan?
So what are we approving? The loop?
It sounds like, Vinny, what do you think we're approving? It sounds like we're approving the loop with the stub TBD or TB.
Yes, the loop with a stub, but they need to show justification and no impact or minimal impact when they file a RDA for the stub road work.
We are punting.
We're hunting?
Punting.
We're punting.
Three steps
We're
back.
Punting.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not convinced of their logic. I don't know why physically having a trail as opposed to just showing DCR that you could build a trail would make some strong argument that wouldn't exist otherwise. I guess, and I agree. I don't. I'd be much more comfortable approving that spur if I knew where it was going and what it was doing on the other side of the property line.
Not only where it's going, but what the intention is on the other side of the property line. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking for a topo map to find out, if you're walking right there, you go straight, left, or right, you know?
So I'm fine approving the loop, and then I wouldn't approve the spur as it presented today. But if you want to defer the spur to the filing, I guess that's fine.
And I think if we had take the defer approach of the spur, it'll give a chance for folks to get out there and take a look at this piece of property. I mean, that's a pretty gnarly area, Vinny, up there too. I mean, there's lots of rocks, and it's not going to be an easy approach to run bridges over there. So,
Absolutely, you're right.
Sadie, what do you think? You're muted.
Sorry, I went to unmute and then I somehow threw the screen away.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I think I kind of see both sides, the trail committee side and the concerns on this side with the spur, but I think if they're already going in to do all the work to make the trail, then it would make sense to do the spur at the same time instead of going back in later to do it.
Mhm.
And I think it does open up a lot of potential for DCR to do more trails on that side and connect those other towns with their trail systems. And I think there are people on the Trails Commission or Trails Committee that have a lot of knowledge about wetlands and won't just kind of go in there without respect to that. And I think bridges also add a lot of appeal to a trail for a lot of people, and it just seems like a really cool area. I haven't had a chance to walk it, but I think it would add a nice extension to a really pretty trail, it sounds like. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning on the side of approving or going with the spur.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, Vinny, it sounds like it sounds we're close. It's a close split here. But so maybe we take the approach that Dan outlined, which you outlined too, which was we approve the trail and the spur gets presented as part of the RDA.
I like that. Yeah.
That seem reasonable approach?
Agreed.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to just take a vote, I guess, to approve the trail as presented with the spur portion subject to the RDA review or something along those lines. Todd would say, I know what you're going to say, Todd. We're taking the punt approach, aren't we? So
We're just punted to the next meeting. Sure. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. You got that, Vinny?
Eh,
I think so.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
That's the end of the agenda items, the hearing items. We have some other topics here, including a pretty interesting violation. COCs, Ridge Road and Lincoln Street.
yes. Oh. Ridge Road, I don't have anything fancy. That's a septic system. I didn't pull up the maps, but it's a septic repair for a property that, if you're driving down Ridge Road, we've been very busy with the 75 Ridge, those three houses on the peninsula there. If you just go beyond them, there's an open water. If you drive on Ridge Road, it's open water on the left. This is one of the houses on the right. They put in a mound septic system a couple of years ago, and we've just been basically waiting for the grass to grow and for them to put the signs up. And with this great spring, the grass is growing and the signs are up, so they're ready for a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Any questions on Ridge Road? Other than those three houses made a big difference to what used to be there. Significant difference. What's Lincoln Street, 95 Lincoln Street? Those two houses next to
We need a, oh, you're going to do the vote together?
Yeah.
95 Lincoln is one of the two houses that were put in. They have completed the work on a pool around back and a wall, and it's very clear where the limit of work is because it's a very nice wall with a fence along it, and there are signs noting the wetlands beyond it. They've been easy to work with, and they've done a good job. So they submitted an as-built plan with everything that was required, or actually they need to submit an as-built plan noting the signs and that the work was completed appropriately, and then we could hand them the certificate of compliance. I would like you to vote to issue it, and then I'll just hold it until I get the required as-built plan.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Concerns?
Is that the house that just sold and then the other one is up for sale now? Or is it vice versa?
Yes, it's the one on the left is the one, this 95 one.
Okay.
And I think it's sold.
Okay, roll call vote to issue certificates of compliance for both 86 Ridge Road and 95 Lincoln Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, was that Kelly?
Yeah.
Yes. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Violations. We have two. Well, I'd say let's start with the easy one first, Vinny. Let's start with 45 Belmont Street. That's the easier of the two, so.
All right, 45 Belmont. Yes, okay.
It's the old Mexican restaurant on.
Exactly. Yes, so this is the Mexican restaurant at, I think that's in. What happened there?
There's a Puerto Vallarta, right? Is that what it was called?
No, that's 15 settlers, sorry.
Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, Puerto Vallarta.
Is that what it used to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is the back of, yeah, let me go to the next one. Your pictures are where I need to go to click. I want to do that. There we go. So this is the Puerto Vallarta, the Mexican restaurant, I think, the back of it. And this was, they had like a little patio to eat, and this is all parking. The Route 9 is off to the right. This is the wetland all in the back. And in the back area here, I was up visiting the property next to this, the motel, and you can see some dumping of mattresses and other materials. And then to the left of this is this other large pile of tires, and they're there to match the large pile of tires that are just beyond in the wetlands right there.
Those are actually in the ones in the distance there.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, those are in the wetland, right? And there's even more that have been there for probably a year. So I sent a note. This property has an order of conditions on it for a septic repair. So I sent an email to contact the owner to ask them to clean up, or to contact me to clean it up. And I have not received any response as yet. Actually, let me check my emails. Nope. Still have not gotten a response on this one. Uh-oh. What did I do now?
What's wrong?
They'll see the tires.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. There you are. All right. So you see the tires, and then the dumped household mess. Someone drove in off of Route 9. I'm sure it wasn't the owner doing it, but he doesn't have any barriers in place. So that what I'd like him to do is clean up the mess that's been dumped and put in barriers. So I like your authorization to issue an enforcement order. And if he, and just have him comply with cleanup and putting in barriers.
That's fine, but I mean, is there anybody even to talk to at this point? Is it in tax title?
No, I was talking to, this is also since it's tires and solid waste, I've been talking to the Board of Health agent, and he said he's contacted him in the last year, and the guy has been responsive to do soil testing and that kind of stuff, because he's trying to get a permit to make it an occupied building. So
Okay.
I think we'll get a response. It's just that I notified him a week and a couple of days ago, and once I get some a little more teeth from you folks, I will kind of hopefully get a better response.
Okay.
When the
Anybody
owner
else?
of his property goes for his occupancy permit, he's going to have to make an adjustment with his septic. When he makes that adjustment,
Yeah.
will we see that adjustment happen on this board because it abuts the wetland?
He currently has an approved septic design for a repair, but I think that is not as feasible as he was hoping. He's trying to do some other things, so I expect that if he does make any changes at all, then he will have to come back before the board, before the commission.
And Vinny, there's a good chance that his order might have expired even with the 2-year extension. That's an old order.
It's older, but it hasn't expired. He just made the 2-year extension. I think it is going to expire in July.
Okay.
That's why I'm looking for an enforcement order.
Yep. I don't think there's any issues with that. A lot of nodding heads here. Anybody have a problem with the enforcement order? No.
Okay.
No problem with the enforcement order. When do we expect the reaction time here? Vinny, do we need to put a time span on that order?
Well, I usually, in an order, it takes a little time to get things organized. So I say that I want to be able to report some positive movement at the next meeting. So if they don't do anything positive, then I threaten the $300 a day fines. And actually, under the Wetlands Protection Act, we can go to $25,000 a day, but that's a little excessive. And I like the enforcement order, just the fact that it allows him, because under his current order of conditions, he's not allowed to go into that wetland and haul out the tires. But by issuing an enforcement order, it gives the commission the authority to allow him to go in and clean up. And then once he gets it cleaned up, he can put up his barriers, and then the problem's solved. He doesn't have to hire a surveyor, a wetland specialist, file a notice of intent, and pay $12,000 for a piece of paper, and the tires sit there for the summer. So,
Okay. All right, let's vote it. We're voting on issuing an enforcement order for 45 Belmont Street.
A motion, or are we just going to vote? Or I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Is that Kelly? Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Bud Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
good. Thank you.
Okay.
Vinny, can I ask you a question about the him removing the tires?
Yep.
So the enforcement gives him the ability to go in and move it. Do we have like a set regulation, like you can go in and move the tires, but you can't go in and clear like the first 20 feet of trees under the cleaning of the tire?
What I would do, the way I would word the enforcement order and my conversations with the owner would be that he hauls the tires out, and whatever is left, that he's going to have to restore that area,
Okay.
whatever it might be, and no tree removal of greater than 2 inches probably.
All right, good. Good. 15 Settlers Road.
All right. Now here we have Settlers Road wetland. Oh. I've got a plan, but I'm not sure where it is. No. I give away my secrets here. Where's the plan? So these are the pictures. Currently, this is a property line for Settlers Road going down this area here. This fill has been brought in over the last year or two, I was told by an abutter. And what happened was in the last rainstorm, it allowed stuff to wash off and it ended up into the wetlands that are on 17 Settlers Road. This is the end of that pile. You can kind of, why can't I zoom in? Ah. Okay, now it let me. So they had a line up here, and I think that might be the property line or just a measuring, that's a tape measure. And they filled all the way down to this area here in the water. That's sediment, turbid water with wetland plants popping out. So that's not a good situation. There's a trickle of water, actually a flow of water that comes right out here and is washing more turbid or some sediment, more turbid water going out. And this is the wetland with no barrier. You can see that this is a wetland here with the tree growth, but there's no barrier between this altered area and what was an isolated wetland. And I'm going to close this to get back to another image of the plan so you can see what was possible. 15 Settlers. So this is the lot. This is what I was hoping to give you for the first image. But basically, Settlers Road is this line here is the town of Northborough and Shrewsbury. Settlers Road is in Shrewsbury. This is one of the lots that comes off. The person who called with problems because she was having flooding on her property was 17 Settlers Road that goes up here, and it's a really big, beautiful house with an orchard. The road is probably a half a mile back to the house, and this area here is all wetland. That corner of the blue where the bend is, I pointed out a corner stake, the orange stake, that's looking this way. So this area that looks like on the contours is fill piles. I think that's all been filled and graded out so that it's down to what's the wetland here and possibly down to this area here. I didn't actually measure it. So we've got a situation where they have a lot of fill is an approved. Okay, let's get back to it. There's the commission issued an approval on this under the local bylaw only because this is an isolated wetland. So they were supposed to build a driveway to a house and have a yard, but they were supposed to have erosion sediment controls around this area here. None were shown along the back. I think there was a problem with issuing this permit because I believe that there are wetlands within 100 feet of this work. So again, this is another one where I need an enforcement order to encourage the property owner to install the erosion controls that were approved or the sediment controls that were approved, and then file with the commission to determine whether this really is a wetland, which really looks like it is a wetland from the map. Is that? What's that number? Nope. That was the other one, sorry. This is the area that is shown on for the property owner that lives here, 17. they have an order of conditions that show this area as wetland all the way up and around here. So that I believe that this is wetland here that was not shown on the original submittal for this 15 settlers. So we've got a little bit of work to do on this one.
Vinny, have you spoken to the new owner?
I spoke to the new owner, and he is not familiar with wetlands work. He usually just does building construction in the cities, in the city of Worcester, and I think he said Leominster, but he isn't very familiar with wetlands regulations. So I'm going to pull out of this one, and then I'll pull up those photographs again. So this photo is looking from the middle of that lot that was in blue, looking to the north, and this is the isolated wetland, and there's no sediment controls out there. This is down at the right side at the limit of the work with the wetlands and the limit of fill with no sediment control. A different view of that same area, and this is looking down to the property at 17 settlers.
You can actually see some of the driveway kind of through the trees.
Yes, you can kind of
way in back.
Yep, you can kind of see something there, and that's where there's a culvert that goes down and feeds the wetlands downstream as well. So this is a wetland that's connected through. And so what I'd like to do is get an enforcement order, and I'd asked them before this meeting tonight to install sediment barriers here and up on the other side where the isolated wetland is in place. I went out there last Thursday, and there were no barriers in place. So that's why I'd like to get an enforcement order issued on this one as well.
Okay.
Did they actually fill the wetland there?
Yeah,
I think so. It's hard to tell, but the first thing was to stop the bleeding, to try to contain the site, and then have them hire a wetland specialist to dig this stuff out and find out if there's wetland soils underneath there, and keep looking back farther and farther until they don't find wetland soils.
What is all this fill? What's he doing with it? He's preparing for the house to build?
He's putting a house and a septic system in there.
And that was going to be my question. Has he pulled a building permit for those yet?
He has not. So the other twist on this is that, is this the one? You can see that there's this is at the top of a hill and it slopes down, and then it's a lower area down here. The limit of alteration here is about what I saw, 1.1 or 1.2 acres, which means he now has triggered the land disturbance permit requirement.
Oh boy.
And when they originally got the approval, land disturbance permit did not exist. So that's going to be a surprise. Or actually, it was a surprise. I let him know when I sent the email. But he's going to need to file for the land disturbance permit, determine the wetlands limits, and come into compliance with this lot. But the enforcement order right now is just to place perimeter barriers and stabilize this area. So he's going to have to hydroseed or mulch or do something so this doesn't continue to weep and drain down into the wetland.
It's going to be an extensive barrier that he has to put up along the edge of that embankment. Do we need to get this area flagged so he knows that this is wetland? I'm just kind of surprised by all of this, but I'm just wondering, do we need to set up the perimeters of this property?
I think it really doesn't matter too much. He knows it's flooded because we have the photos, and we just need to get a barrier in place, and then he needs to come back with some kind of a plan. If he can stabilize this area with mulch, there'll be a much less runoff to create a problem. And once he installs the silt fence, and it will provide at least some barrier to just the general flow going straight across. I also talked to him about, it's a big open area, so that he could grade this. He could excavate this area down here in the short term, build a berm around the outside, so any of the flow that's coming from here gets caught in that basin before it gets discharged. But the first step really is to get a barrier around the outside, because there's wetlands over here too, as well as the pictures that were taken over there. This one's a mess.
Yep.
Yeah, Vinny, I'm looking at an aerial from, says it's from April 10th, and he's almost at the property line at that point.
So that is the property line. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm assuming he's done more work since April 10th. That was almost 2 months ago in this aerial, and he's pretty close to the property line at that point.
Okay. Well, this I believe that this tape measure that he's got out there, you can kind of see that maybe not. It is a tape measure.
Yep.
And the guy who was doing the sediment control, once he got the enforcement order, he hired someone to go out and do sediment control, but the guy was not real familiar with installing it, and he was just digging a 4-foot wide trench and going to put the straw wattle in the trench. So I suggested that he hire someone that knows what they're doing and put it in appropriately and contact me before he does anything, and I haven't gotten any contact.
So John, to answer
So-
your question earlier, when he files with us, he's going to have to delineate the wetlands too.
Okay. Yeah.
And file a notice of intent, right? I mean, to clean this up.
Yes. Yes. He's going to file a land disturbance permit and then also a notice of intent, because unless they can get a wetland scientist in here who can prove that this is not wetlands, I believe it's wetlands, and he's going to have to file a notice of intent. The commission has approved an order of resource area delineation on this, and it did not show a wetland in this area. So that's why we have a little bit of a discrepancy, and that's why I want to get a wetlands person in here, but just after we stop the hemorrhaging.
Yep.
You should probably check his survey too, because it looks like most of the driveway that he's driving on looks like it's on the
Yes.
woman's property that has the orchard that you said that you
Yes,
drove
and
up to.
that's where their septic system is, for that big property that's around. Okay, let's pull that up. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but so I think you can see the map here. That, yes, that access does go across the corner there, but this area here is where the septic system for this large lot is located. He's got fill, and that corner post that I showed in one of the pictures, where there's fill going over it, that was in the picture. So the fill is all going from here all the way down through there. So yes, that's a septic system, but it is set up higher, so I think we're safe for problems with the septic, but it's not neighborly.
Good one. This is a good one.
Well,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we're looking to authorize Vinny to issue a compliance order, on order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Dan Clark,
yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
John Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Right. So that's for a barrier, stabilize, and file.
Yes. Stop the hemorrhaging, as you say, and then a little more detail for the next step.
We
Right.
should put this on our agenda for next time we meet to find out, to get a status.
Absolutely.
Okay. Informal discussion. 65 West Main Street Fire Station, wall and drainage update.
All right, we issued a land disturbance permit for the new fire station at 65 West Main. Two conditions that were on there were that they had to provide actual soil testing for where the infiltration basins are going. I always like to have that as part of the application, and they committed to doing it after the fact. They were in a rush, I think, and it turns out that the soil test resulted in soils that were not what they planned, so they have to revise the drainage, which they have still not submitted for review. but they are still moving ahead with the work. Just moving some dirt around, clearing some topsoil, and clearing the trees. So this is a good lesson to remind us that getting the soils tested and have the evidence that it really works is really important. The other condition that was on our land disturbance permit was that there were questions about the wall constructability, and they were going to provide the geotechnical information that justified the wall, that the wall could be built the way it was proposed. And since that time, it's been found that the wall really can't be built the way it was proposed, and they're redesigning the wall. So we'll be getting some redesigns on this.
That was a subject at town meeting, if I recall.
It was.
Yes, yes. But I think some of the town meeting discussion was more just aesthetics. What we're talking about here is buildability, just that to build it in the location with the limited back area, it's just very difficult. But they have someone who's working on it, and they have a plan being reviewed right now. They haven't submitted it to me, but I let everybody else review it. That's fine. And once they're pleased that it's actually going to work structurally, then we just look at how much alteration and alterations will be occurring. Because right now we just have a land disturbance permit for this. So that's the issue with the the soil testing and the walls. The third issue is that they've been working with Mass DOT, and Mass DOT wants them to replace the pipe from the Route 20 that goes out to Cold Harbor Brook. And that will entail a notice of intent that they're going to be submitting to us. I met with the designers about that, and they had three options. And the one option that I liked the best, that I think made the most sense, was having the most distant discharge point, not replacing the discharge point where it currently is, but actually pulling things back and discharging closer to Route 20, Route 20, and not directly into the wetlands.
Where would they discharge?
Currently, the pipe discharge is very close to the Dunkin' Donuts, what do you call it, drive-through?
Yeah, the back of a wall.
Yeah. Yeah. So it currently discharges close to that. This one was going to be farther to the left when you're looking at Dunkin' Donuts from the street, but closer to Route 20, not as far back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, just an update.
That's just an update, yes. But they're in the process. They're working with us, and we just need to get final plans.
Okay. Forest stewardship, Vinny.
I have not had a lot of time to do anything on that, but I have gotten 2 phone calls. We've kind of played phone tag with Wigmore Forest Management. She said she's interested in doing the project, and what that entails, as we discussed at the last meeting, I'd have to re-advertise everything. But I want to talk to her before I do all the work of re-advertising and confirm that she's really bought into this in the time frame that it's going to happen, because it's going to take me probably a month to get all the paperwork done. And if she has a window of only June, then I don't want to go through the effort of having her not actually put a proposal in for it. It's going to be a request for proposal. So anyone out there is welcome to put a proposal in. But as you all know, we've tried this. I think this is the 4th time we put a proposal out, and we've only gotten 1 respondent. So it's not a desirable project, it seems. So
Apparently not. Apparently not.
I want to be a little more firm with someone actually going to be proposing on it.
And this person went silent on us last time too.
Yes. Yep. She had some issues with additional workloads and some other things that came up that were restrictive. A lot of the liability and the insurance requirements that the town had at the time didn't really apply to a forestry operation. It was more to like bigger project, like doing a fire station where you have cyber insurance. I'm not sure the forester really needs cyber insurance of $1 million.
Probably not. Yes.
So that was part of the problem. She didn't even have an insurance agent that could quote her. So we're going to work on that.
Okay, good, good. Thank you, Vinny. Anybody have anything you want to bring up? Anything going on?
I just had one for Vinny. Vinny, did we hear back from our person on Barefoot Road with the back of the property that passed the pool?
Yes, we did. And the response, I talked with him and he was going out to hire a wetland consultant to flag the wetland. And in the meantime, he has done a little work of clearing before he hired the wetland person. So I just sent an email to him today saying, stop all the work that's going on. I haven't been out there, so I don't really know what he's done, but I told him to stop all the work that's going on, get a wetland person to flag the wetlands, and then I want to meet with him and talk about what's going where and what needs to be cleaned up before he gets too far down the road.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the update.
Yep.
We have a lot of stuff going on. You thought thinking about this, right? A lot of things happening.
Yes, and just for the last one, before you asked me, the 10 Easy Street tree removal, they stopped all the work on the 10 Easy Street work and they hired Waterman Design to file for a permit for the work that they already did and something else, I'm not sure what, but they know Waterman Design. Brian Waterman has worked with us in the past a lot, so he's familiar with the requirements of the town.
Vinny, when I did a walkthrough with you, there was I forgot the name of the address, but it had about 20 trees that were flagged to be cut down. Remember that walkthrough?
That's
I think
a 10
Greg
Easy
knew
Street.
about it. That was the one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. I drove by there one day and just on a whim just to check it out. And son of a gun, there was a tree company cutting down trees and stacking them up. So next phone call is to Vinny.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else going on anywhere with anybody? Anything going on in your neighborhoods or your areas, or everything's good? All right. July 14th meeting. We're talking summertime, vacations hitting us. Anybody have any issue they know about at this point in time? Things do change. Okay, great.
I don't have any issues, but I think you guys know I'm expecting a baby
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm due August 4th.
Wow.
It's coming up, so I don't know how the next couple
Okay.
months are gonna play
Okay.
out. But, chances are it won't be here in August, but I'll keep you all posted on July.
Okay, good. Good, say it's good. You look well. That's good news.
Yeah, just the tiredness.
We should
But-
probably walk. You should probably walk forward through to Whitty Street before the 4th, then, to make sure you get that
Yeah.
done. Right? Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. All right. If nobody has anything else that you want to bring up before we depart here?
No, you guys are doing great. This is moving right through a very full agenda. Thank you.
A lot of stuff going on. Thank you. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Todd. You might have set a record today for motions that you've moved on.
Well, we're trying to keep it moving here.
We are,
Got
sir.
a process.
Roll, roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Very good. Thank you, folks.
Excellent.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Talk to you
Night.
soon.
See you
See you
next
guys.
time.
All right.
Good night.